It's time, Dennis. It is time to put this on the internet forever. Your predictions in stone.
Colorado State national champ. Is that what you were talking about?
No. Hey, certainly if you believe their quarterback and their wide receiver,
Right.
that's why they're turning down $600K
No
money
doubt.
to stay there.
Yeah.
We'll certainly get to that with one of our guests later on.
Yeah.
But for yourself, Longhorns, I know a lot's been made of this season, a lot of expectations. Expectations always high here in
Always.
Austin, but
Yep.
higher than they've ever been, I would say, in the Sarkisian regime. So where are you feeling?
Yeah. So if we're talking body of work, final record over 12 games, I see this probably about where Vegas. I don't know where they set the over/under.
It was 10.5, right?
10.5. Then I guess I would take I have them at 10-2. But through their and the reason being is Georgia. I hate the fact that game follows the Red River fist fight. It's just that game is so emotional, physical, all of it together. It's hard to be up for then the biggest game of the year that next week. I don't care if it's a DK or where. The other one that is starting to sneak up on me, the other L I have, is that Michigan game. And I know that I think Texas is about a 3-point favorite maybe, according to Vegas. That is where I think the C.J. Baxter loss could haunt them, especially early in the season, because Sark, again, I think Sark will figure that out, how to use smaller backs and get what he wants. Problem is, in that game, second game of the year, on the road, running into the strength of a stout Michigan D. That Michigan defense is going to be very legit. And those interior linemen is like they're going to dare you, like, you're going to run between the tackles against us? Come bring it. So that game now concerns me more. Well, I thought it was going to be close anyway, with C.J. Baxter back there. Now that almost makes me think I'd be a little more surprised if UT walks away with a win than otherwise.
So I'm with you. 10-2 is what I came out with as well. Whereas you seem to be putting the focus a lot more on that early Michigan game. I'm kind of looking later in the year, and I have some concerns.
Yeah.
So the Georgia game, of course, right? And bottom line, and I hate to say it and just put it out there, but I think Georgia's just better.
Georgia could be a three-time national champ.
Yeah, if we're going to relitigate last year's college football playoff structure, they could have beat every team in that field by 20 if they got a chance to go in. We saw obviously what they did to the broken down Florida State team in their bowl game, their consolation bowl game. And that was a statement. That was just saying you're lucky that we didn't make the college football playoff. And of course, Alabama had their number, right? Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, we know a tale as old as time, that rivalry. And it happens. But I guarantee if they played Alabama 8 out of 10 times,
I'm with you.
8 out of 10 times, they get that win.
Right.
So that's how I was feeling about them last year. So looking into this year, chip on their shoulder, Heisman candidate quarterback as well with Carson Beck, which I think obviously neutralizes the Quinn Ewers element a little bit. That Georgia game, and like you said, coming off Red River too. It's like that 2-week stretch, boom, boom. But early in the season, why I'm less concerned about the Michigan game is I do think, and of course there's a danger of this, of them overlooking the CSU Rams, certainly 35-point underdogs, but overlooking them, is they put all their focus into this Michigan game. And the running back dynamics certainly changed things, but Michigan just has way too much turnover this year. And not just the coach, the quarterback, but even the running game, losing Blake Corum. There's some key pieces that Michigan's going to have to overcome. The element that kind of changes it for me, too, is obviously the big house. It's the big house. So, talk about raucous environments. As far as where I could potentially see that second loss coming.
I hope you're not going to – don't blaspheme on this show.
I've went back and forth on this constantly, but there's two spots. Because really there's 3-4 losable games on this calendar.
Well, I mean, Texas almost lost to Houston last year, so they're all losable. But
where it's kind of like within shouting distance, right? What the betting line is going to be. That Arkansas game really concerns me going back to Fayetteville.
That surprises me.
And then going to College Station concerns me as well.
That's where I thought you were headed.
I kind of feel as See, I don't want to give Bobby Petrino any credit in life ever, just because I do think that he's a horrible person. That's just my 2 cents on that one.
Yeah.
So I'm going to renege on picking the Razorbacks to go over Texas, because I think Texas goes into that game a little bit looking to, do some damage. But the first time in 10 years, that College Station game, I don't know what it is about it.
Oh, yeah.
But I feel as though either Texas is going to come in too amped up into that game and blow a key spot, or they're not going to treat it seriously enough given how I would disagree because of the talent disparity that I think that they're going to go into this game saying, okay, we're going to hang 30 on our rival and may overlook that game, especially too later in the year.
Man, you're showing your age right now because for us olds that remember that rivalry, Texas will never overlook A&M or vice versa. That you are amped for that rivalry.
Okay. Well, it's also, we can add in the changing dynamics of like college football now that we have this 12-team field and everything, is you kind of wonder how teams are going to get like later on in the year as the season progresses, the regular season progresses, if they feel as though we've already locked up our spot, we locked up where we're going to be. There's a lot of elements that could change how teams approach games later in the year, especially the last game on your calendar.
So I've heard that a lot, and I always wince a little bit when you're asking, because that is the final. But you're also jockeying. I mean, you're trying to play in the SEC championship. I mean, there's a lot at the end why you want to be playing your best football and not ratcheting down, especially in that game. That game is going to be nuts as far as the energy that both programs and their fan bases are bringing into College Station.
If things out of their control come into play, like, Georgia and Mizzou have already locked up spots in there, and they're just fighting to just be on the outside looking into the SEC championship game, it kind of makes me wonder, maybe we want to preserve our starters. It's stuff like that, the conversations like that become real things, because what's more important to the Longhorns this year, winning that game or winning the big game?
You don't lose. You don't lose to OU. You don't lose to A&M. I mean, that's just you don't go into that game half step. And I can't put my brain and calibrate it to agree with you on that. It's just you don't.
And other things I've kind of like thought about too is obviously first-year coach Mike Alco. I'm kind of like wondering, will they be rolling a little bit more by the end of the year? Will his system be a little bit more baked in by that point?
And that's
We've talked about the attrition of the running back position. Let's say Texas experiences another injury at that position, God forbid, right? Then I just feel as though their ability to keep opponents off the field will start becoming more of an issue. And when you're talking about a guy who could wing it and wingman, then that certainly could become an issue for them. I'm always worried about them blowing leads in games. That's going to be one of my things throughout this season. You'll hear me talk about is my fear that a Sarkisian-led team is going to blow a lead in a game. And I'm sure we're going to see at least a couple points, whether they win or lose those games, is going to be the differentiating factor of how I feel emotionally on that day.
No, for sure. And when you're talking about Elko, that's why I thought you would pick that as the second loss, because I do think Texas A&M under him, I mean, he showed at Duke what he brings a lot of discipline, a lot of accountability. He gets the most out of his guys. I think that team is going to get better. I mean, who knows with injuries, right? Wigman goes down again, But if all things equal, that team is going to get better. And if you want to catch A&M early in the season, that team under Elko for the first year rather than later, because I do think that's going to be the best version of it. For the day ones, the diehards, the first-timers, the old-timers, for all the rivalry matches, buzzer beaters, and come-from-behind miracles. It's not just stats and wins and losses, it's the moments, the shots you can't believe went in, the times you can't do anything but believe. And it's all streaming right here on your connected TV anytime on Fox Local.
The Sports Office, streaming anytime on Fox Local.